मिनिस्टर इमरान खान साहब जब मुंतखब हुए तो उन्होंने इजहार किया कि उनकी विज़न है कि पाकिस्तान एक इस्लामी फ़लाही रियासत बने, यानी कि एक इस्लामिक वेलफेयर स्टेट। टू हेल्प पीएम इमरान एंड टू हेल्प आवरसेल्व्स अचीव दिस विजन, सब साथ के पास एक बहुत सिंपल सा आइडिया है। नंबर 1, हुकूमत के पास एफटीआर और नादरा के तहत वो डेटा है जो हमें वेरीफाई करके दे सकता है कि मुस्तहिकीन कौन है और वो किधर हैं। नंबर 2, सब साथ ने एक तेज़ फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज के साथ प्लेटफॉर्म बनाया है जो एट अ क्लिक पूरे पाकिस्तान में लोगों के मोबाइल पे पैसे पहुंचा सकता है। अगर हम इकट्ठे मिल जाएं और हम हुकूमत को पूरी तरीके से हर सतह पे सपोर्ट करने को तैयार हैं, अगर हम इकट्ठे इन दो टेक्नोलॉजीज़ को जोड़ देते हैं तो हम लेने वाले हाथ को देने वाले हाथ से मिला सकते हैं। और ये टेक्नोलॉजी और ये सिस्टम जो इस वबा के दौरान इंशाल्लाह कायम होगा, ये इस वबा के बाद भी लेने वाले हाथ को देने वाले हाथ के साथ कनेक्ट करता रहेगा और सफ़ेद पोशी कायम रखते हुए एक लो कॉस्ट के ऊपर तेज़ी के साथ लोगों की इमदाद कर सकेगा। उम्मीद रखते हैं कि पीएम साहब हमारी ये वीडियो देख रहे हैं और इस वीडियो के बाद हमारे से कोई रब्ता करेगा और हमारा जो आइडिया है ये हम उन तक पहुंचा सकें। और बाकी आगे हुकूमत का काम है, हम इंशाल्लाह पूरा ताउन करेंगे कि हम हुकूमत की पूरी मदद करें बेलॉस होकर, कि जिस डायरेक्शन में हमें वो पॉइंट करें हम उनकी मदद करें।
So we're going to talk to the co-founder of Sab Saath, Mr. Omar Zaman. Assalamu alaikum, Omar. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, Izmerai and Sarah. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. Good to have you on the show, Omar.
Great to have you on. You're looking great, mashallah, for the 5 months
Thank
that
you.
you're at home, and looking great, man. You got to give me the
Thank you.
stories of your grooming session as well.
Grooming, though, I think there's more like a lack thereof. There's absolutely no grooming. This is a wild look. That's what's going on.
I think it's all the good work that you're doing that's being reflected. I think
That's kind of you.
Got nude on your face as
nude
well.
on
Yeah.
your face.
It's kind of organized chaos groom as well, I suppose.
With the third baby, it's never organized.
Absolutely.
So-
Congratulations on that as well. Yes.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a big present from God over the last week. Shukr hai.
MashaAllah. That's one of the great blessings in this period that we could have.
Absolutely. It's been very refreshing to get good news during these months.
Absolutely.
Very lucky. Shukr.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk to Umar about Sab Saath, and Sab Saath is about helping people digitally in the time of COVID. How you've come across the challenge of helping people and how you've overcome that challenge. Could you just share a bit of insight on how this brainchild arose and what you decided to do with it?
Bilkul, I over the last 9 months was working. I joined my family's non-profit, which is Zaman Foundation, as CEO, and I had just started working, and our vision was that we get people together, form partnerships, and bring people together for poverty alleviation. And इकट्ठे करने की काम की नीयत थी, and then lo and behold साथ ही the pandemic arrived, and I knew that the scale of this is such that you can't fight it alone. So I called up a friend of mine, Babar Rashid Khan. He has a very illustrious career behind him as well. And usko maine phone kiya. He came up with the name Sab Saath. So him and we started chatting about how to make a platform where we can, get people together. So yeah, so then we were joined by Abdullah Khan as well. He was the third co-founder. And then no looking back from there. We just started off on March 23rd. That's quite an auspicious day to start with Pakistan Day. So yeah, it was very much a mini resolution day for us. So tab se resolve is going strong. Shukr.
Excellent. Yeah. There's no backing down from this at the moment.
Nay, there's no backing down. The only way we can back down is if we lose funds. Well, as soon as we run out of funds, then I guess then we'll try to spread charity with smiles. That's what we'll do.
But
Because this was such a challenging period as well. So the first challenge was obviously the COVID itself and the pandemic, that people couldn't go out. There was a lockdown, and then it was helping people as well. How did you think about overcoming one challenge with another challenge, and how did you guys think about this?
yeah, you're absolutely right. एक बड़ा challenge ये था कि nobody knew how big the challenge was. That in itself was a challenge. I mean, no one knew and I think we still maybe don't fully understand the scope of COVID or its ramifications. Allah khair करे. But we did understand immediately when socha कि जी, we have to prepare for this long term, and if Pakistan starts going into lockdown, we have to have a mechanism to get to people while keeping our own team safe by being socially distanced, but also being able to reach people with the aid.
Yeah.
So wahan pe Babar got me in touch with his cousin Nina. She had just Nina and Hamza, they just started Tez Financial Services.
Okay.
So we partnered with them, and they had this software. So then we started sending people money digitally. We were also providing doctors with medical equipment,
excellent,
protective equipment, and we were also connecting people who wanted to give ration with people who needed ration. So we're doing three things.
Moving to a digital platform would actually really benefit the cause.
Definitely, because social distancing, we can't really, it's very difficult to enforce any kind of SOP, so to speak. I think in पिछले 4 महीनों में और कुछ नहीं तो पाकिस्तानियों को SOP का पता चल गया क्या होता है, and उससे अक भी काफी गए होंगे. I'm sure people are pretty sick of the word as well.
They've learned what this acronym SOP means.
Everyone's using
operating procedure. Everyone's
they've learned that, and I'm sure that they're pretty sick of it by now also.
So Omar, just take us through the digital format of Sab Saath. How does it work? If I were to recommend somebody or to make a donation, what is the process?
Process is pretty simple. You can log on to sabsaath.org and you can go on to the want help section, the want to help section, and you can the bank details are there. You can send us an online transfer. You can, if you feel more comfortable, you can do a cash deposit at the bank. So it's fairly straightforward.
Excellent. So that's really good what you pointed out. So there's a cash transfer section on there. Are there any other modes of payment on there as well? Because I realized I saw some other modes of payment as well. We can maybe transfer through mobile cash as well. Is that's when?
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you have the online bank account details, you can send it through mobile. You can send it, you can send a check to your bank or whatever suits the donor. But currently, we're having difficulty receiving funds from abroad because of some banking channel issues. But that should be sorted in a month. I think Pakistan's on the FATF list, and that has been causing some problems because there's more strict measures on the money that flows into the country. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to overcome that in about a month and a half tops.
This is something, Sarah, I feel we talked with Vex Assam Khalid in a previous episode as well about how Pakistan, being a developing country, because of the pandemic, has even been able to leapfrog and take advantage of the technology that's available, and especially like a platform like Sab Saath has taken advantage not only of the obviously digital online banking, because a lot of the banks went online and made it easy for customers to transition to online banking, but also the mobile cash payment platforms from which it's easy to send money and easy for people in remote areas to receive. So maybe you could tell us a bit more how that's benefited Sab Saath as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that there was a boom over the last decade and a half, and pretty much everyone now has a cell phone. And then the telecompanies, they've been marketing their digital payment solutions over the last many years as well. So the concept wasn't foreign that you receive money via cell phone. But for that, generally people need to have accounts made with a telecompany, a service provider. In our case, our platform sort of integrates all of these different solutions. It's an omni-channel solution, so to speak. So even if someone doesn't have a, an account, they can be sent money just on their national identity card number.
Amazing.
So if I have your national identity card number, I can wire you money.
Excellent.
That's super convenient. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the easiest way to really
That's
do it.
true. Yeah. You really solved
Yeah.
donation giving problem really with this.
Yeah, and the charges were very low as well. To put things into perspective, if you send an international transfer bank to bank, it's very normal for it to cost 3.5 to 4%.
Yeah.
So in our case, we were, and this is at cost. We weren't making any money out of this, but it cost us 2.5% to send money. So generally, we were sending people 4,000 rupees per family for the month, and that's still what we're doing. And to send that 4,000, it costs us 60 rupees. So,
Yeah.
so overall, it's much cheaper than if I were to hire a truck and a driver and load that truck up and expend petrol to go and deliver that at the risk of also at the risk of spreading the infection. So I mean, the cost is much cheaper and it's much more convenient to do it this way.
That's something really amazing, because when I was a student back in the days in the UK, and we used to try to raise money and do programs, even with the 2005 earthquake, the main issues we had was the intermediate legacy connection problem, where transporters or teams over here were handed the money and the responsibility of transporting it. You've really done amazing with this leapfrog technology, with the Omni platform, really solved that. So I believe foreign diaspora of Pakistan and other people who do want to help people within our country, or I guess in other places as well, they really can come on board with this platform.
Absolutely. Omar, one question I think a lot of people would have in their mind would be that how have you seen the generosity of Pakistanis during this COVID pandemic and during the donation process as well? Because we've seen in the 2005 earthquake, for example, or other incidents where Pakistanis have been very generous when it comes to the crisis situation. How have you observed the generosity of Pakistanis and overall giving nature of Pakistan?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I can't stress on it enough how much role Pakistanis have played, the everyday Pakistani, in keeping Pakistan afloat. I mean, during this crisis. I mean, left to just the government with the resources or the lack thereof that the government has as a developing country, I don't think any developing country could have made it through without the support of its people.
True.
And I think that I recall cases where we would call someone and they would say that, don't send us the money. We've already received money for this month. Send it to some other family in need.
Excellent.
I mean, so whether it was the donor or whether it was the recipient, we came across a lot of inspiring people. That's what kept us going in part.
Amazing. I feel this has been one of the most successful. I've been following some of your progress online. It's by far, it's been one of the most successful giving platforms and campaigns that I've seen, at least personally. Could you highlight a bit more on what kind of challenges you had with the government as well, or just generally the challenges you did have?
Well, in terms of challenges, challenges were more external than internal. So internally, thankfully, we were able to get things rolling very quickly. I would even say in record time. The platform that we set up in 12 days, the digital payment solution, that took a bank about a year to set up something similar a couple of years back. So internally, we did well for ourselves. Externally, the problem was trying to convince the government to come on board with this digital disbursement, because the government wasn't willing to pay any cost whatsoever. They didn't want to bear the 2.5%, or even if we negotiated and brought it down to 1.5%, at scale. They didn't want to bear that, and that made things very difficult in terms of expansion because there's no free lunch. What I mean by that isn't that we were going to make money out of it, but just like you, if you want to give ration, like I was mentioning erstwhile, you have to hire a truck, a driver. There's cost involved.
Exactly.
Similarly, with this platform, there's cost involved, and the government, there's too much bureaucracy and too much red tape and getting too many stakeholders who are disjointed. So getting them together on one page, like literally getting them Sab Saath on the at the government level was pretty difficult. But but that was about pretty much the only challenge. Otherwise, it's been a lot of people working together very closely, realizing the magnitude of the problem at hand, and driving uh, home whatever needs to be done. Yeah.
And sorry.
Just taking on the question of challenges, um, I'm more interested to know that what kind of challenges did you see in the society? Because you came across different people, people who were in need, people who you were helping. Can you identify the core challenges of the Pakistani society right now during the pandemic and address them for us?
Yeah, I mean, one of the core challenges is that what our prime minister keeps pointing out rightly is that a huge chunk of our populace is dependent on daily wages or weekly wages. So, they can't afford to have even reduced economic activity, let alone smart or otherwise lockdowns.
Mm.
So that was a main challenge. I think it's an ongoing challenge. I think that people have to realize that the effort has to persist over the next 2 years or a year and a half. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely.
So in Pakistani terms, because Pakistani people love cricket, it's it's a T20. It's not a T20. Sorry, it's a Test match.
Test match,
So
exactly.
yeah, it's a Test match. So it has to be for the long haul.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the challenges to and then people have such varying needs. In Pakistan, there's a trend to just give ration. Ration means a food pack,
Yeah,
and not everyone has the same needs.
of course.
So as intuitive as it might sound, the most empowering thing or commodity during a pandemic is cash. If you have cash in hand, if you need medicine, you can get medicine. If you need food, if you need a certain type of food, you can get that type of food. Or if you want to do something else with it, like pay your utility bill, etc., you can do that. So what was a challenge also was trying to convince people to come on to the model of giving money. People are still very much in the mindset of here in Pakistan in terms of giving ration.
Yeah.
Uh, and even though during regular days that might make sense, but nowadays I think people need the cash.
And very rightly pointed, I've seen on your platform that you have a cash giving mechanism, a ration, which is food packs giving mechanism, and a Medi pack giving mechanism as
Yeah,
well, people who need medical help. So, what
yeah.
made you think about varying it out in these three branches to Medi packs as well?
It was pretty organic actually because we're affiliated with one of our partners is a textile manufacturer, and they started manufacturing personal protective equipment, which the acronym for which is PPE
Yeah.
suits. So they were manufacturing those, and then Babar threw in a tinge of technology. He created a form where we could reach where the doctors could directly apply for the suits, and they also had to upload their proof of being a medical professional. So um, through that, we were able to reach doctors directly. So we were able to. Uh, I'm happy to report that we were able to cater to about 200 hospitals with personal protective equipment.
Excellent. So, actually helping the people as well as the frontliners as well. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they're the front line soldiers, so we had to do whatever we could to support them.
Course. It's a very
Yeah.
comprehensive model, and it's amazing that it's been even you've been able to put it together in such a short time. Because I remember 18th or 19th of March, we went on the lockdown,
Yeah.
and I believe within the first or second week, you
23rd
had
March they started.
23rd March, you had this up and running, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's right. It was phenomenal, and I think the reason for that was that just people coming together. It's not possible individually, and I have to keep stressing on this, as cliched as it might sound. People, whether they're whether you're an institution, whether you're an individual, we must realize that we can only tackle this together. There's no singular institution. There's no billionaire in the world that can cough up enough money, just throw money at this and get the problem solved single-handedly. It has to be a combined effort, really, and that's why it was thankfully so successful so quickly.
Excellent.
A lot of people
What's the
got
response
together.
been from the diaspora, which is living abroad, the Pakistani diaspora?
The response has been very positive in terms of people when they hear about it, they want to contribute, they want to send money, they also want to know how they can help further on ground. They're happy to give their network uh, for support. So it's very heartening always to see people who are abroad have not forgotten their homeland. They maintain that connection with it, and I think Pakistanis abroad help Pakistan keep going.
Omar, could you possibly share with us the amount of money you've raised and what your organization has done with that as well?
Yes, we raised, alhamdulillah, around more than 100 million rupees in cash and kind. Most of it was in cash. And over the past 4 months, we've assisted around about 20,000 families and tons of doctors. So as far as the families are concerned, we've provided about 500,000 meals. And we've provided financial assistance to some 16,000 families. Excellent. So that's what we've done with the money on the financial assistance and food part. Other than that, we've helped doctors by providing around 180 hospitals with PPE suits, that's personal protective equipment, as well as face shields. So we've provided them protective kits to about, like I said, about 180 hospitals and around 500 doctors individually across the country.
So, and all this has been in the span of what, couple of months?
Yes, this has been in the span of 4 months. Like I shared with you, we started on the 23rd of March. And this pandemic has really brought out the best in people as well. And like I was erstwhile mentioning, we raised over 100 million in a very short time. Our most recent project was getting about 200 plus businesses from the retail sector, the Pakistani retail sector together. And they've committed to donating 5 million masks across Pakistan for free. And we partnered with them, and not just these 200 plus brands. We've also partnered for this initiative with the Ministry of Information. Right. So we've partnered with the private sector and the public sector, and we've rallied them together to make this happen. And so I'd say them and Sab Saath combined, like all of us together, we've probably pulled off the biggest partnership, public-private partnership in Pakistan's history.
Right. So when you say that the public sector has come on board, let's say the Ministry of Information, what kind of benefits and advantages does it give platforms such as Sab Saath to benefit from?
Well, with the Ministry of Information partnering with, or any branch of the government, what ideally you'd like is A, to have access to government offices, and to also have their tools available to you. So specifically with the Ministry of Information, we wanted them to be airing the advertisement that we made for spreading awareness on wearing of masks. We gave that to them. We made an advert, we gave that to them, and they ran it on state-run television. So it was a huge help having them on board in terms of mobilizing the channels and spreading awareness. Other than that, another benefit is that if you have a government institute or institution on board, people, I mean, the wider masses trust you a lot more, and they know that it's legit.
That was a help as well. That was helpful as well. So yeah, a few you can say benefits of partnering with them. But again, our main goal was to get the message out and to get the masks out, and that's what we've been doing.
Excellent.
And how has the overall response been in terms of the people that you have been helping? Do you find that this is something that needs to be done long term? This is something which is not just a short term solution. Could you tell us more about that? Because I feel that's important to highlight as well.
Absolutely, it's absolutely important to have this to be long term, like we were discussing earlier as well. This is a test match, not a T20. It's a marathon, very much a marathon, not a sprint. So we need the help of these institutions, whether they're public or private, to help sustain the effort, because really no individual is big enough or has the wherewithal to tackle COVID by themselves. And I think that's really one of the main messages that and the lessons that COVID is trying to teach us. I mean, we can say that COVID is a mean teacher, but it's definitely teaching us some lessons. And one of those lessons is that we can't live without each other. I mean, as the old cliche goes, no man is an island. So we're no one's an island here. We can put borders all we want. We can divide ourselves along the lines of race or religion or clan or whatever have you. But ultimately, there's one race. It's the human race. And we really need to pull together if we're going to pull out of this.
Absolutely. We all need to work together on this. So what would you say, Omar, is the single biggest achievement out of the last few months that you've experienced that Sab Saath has been able to achieve?
I think one of the biggest achievements has been to set up a digital payment disbursement mechanism in record time. Like I was mentioning earlier, it's a record in Pakistani history, at least 12 days we set it up in. And then to be able to rally our network and our network's network, and then to get people, thousands of families who had no other place to go, to get them money safely to address their needs. That was very fulfilling, and we're very happy to have been God's instrument in that way for that period of time. Very thankful to have been able to play that role.
I mean, we would love to get the Guinness Book of World Record team to come down here and observe this, but I'm sure in the given environment it's not really possible. But putting these things aside, where do you see Sab Saath going in the future? What kind of achievements do you see Sab Saath achieving in the near to long term future?
I think in the near to long term future, we want to keep the momentum going in terms of partnerships. Like I was mentioning again, it's all about Sab Saath. We have to realize we're in this together, and it's one of the only times in history, I think, if not the only time in history, and you can possibly call in Guinness Book of World Records for that as well, if they do that sort of thing. But it's probably the only time in history where the entire world's medical community and knowledge community is probably all just focusing on one problem, and that is how to find a vaccine and a solution for this disease as quickly as possible and as cheaply as possible. Now, that shows you the power of human beings coming together, and we're achieved. There already been, we haven't gotten definitive results yet, but there's massive breakthroughs at rapid pace globally. I mean, if this were 50 years ago, we wouldn't have even been able to cover maybe half of the distance that we already have as a species in terms of steps towards finding a cure. So I think that what I'd really like to take away is the power of being together, and I'd like to focus people's efforts, whether at the individual level or at the organizational level or at the governmental level, to working together and really setting goals, common goals.
Omar, one thing that I would really like to know about Sab Saath is that I understand your model where you provide ration, you provide finances to families that need it, or individuals that need it during COVID. But as a long-term solution, do you also think that people, for example, who have lost their jobs or are unemployed during this COVID pandemic, how can Sab Saath help them in terms of getting back on their feet? Do you have
that's a very good question, and we have already started doing that, Sarah. One of the ways we started doing that is by giving out small interest-free loans. We've given those to people who have expressed a desire to start their own small business, and we've kept the installments, the payback installments, minimal, and given them a year and a half to 2 years to pay back a loan as small as maybe 30,000 PKR. For your international viewers and listeners, that's probably something akin to like maybe $150. So even a loan of 150 or 170 US dollars, we've given them about 2 years to be able to pay that back. So that's one way that we've tried to help people help themselves. In other ways, rallying some of our partner organizations, like Umbrella Online, that's one of them, which provides people jobs as domestic staff. So we're trying to get more and more people, again, employed one way or the other, people who otherwise don't have a place to go.
Now,
so we're trying it.
Say that, why give interest-free loans? So why are you giving interest-free loans? Could you explain that a bit?
We're giving interest-free loans because it's at the end of the day a crisis, and people are already carrying so many burdens, and one of them being the loan that they've taken. So if we keep adding on interest in a time of uncertainty, when people the economy isn't fully functional, even where they can't really predict any stable kind of income stream. So to have that burden of paying off interest on top of the principal, that I find is crushing mentally for the people who've taken the loan. So it's very much in keeping with Islamic principles also, and also very practical. I think we need this to be a time of helping each other out. I'd like to give you your viewers and listeners an example at the international level, where you have all these countries giving out so much aid, and these institutions like the World Bank and the ADB, the Development Bank. That's commendable, but really, if you want to help, waive off debt. Don't give more aid, just waive off debt. Because poor countries like Pakistan, they're a bulk of the tax money that they're generating is going back into debt servicing. So just either hold off the debt repayment or just forgive a portion of it. So that'd be way more effective than generating and issuing more cash, more aid.
Absolutely.
Or loans.
It's all about not kicking the poor man while he's down, but instead uplifting them and bringing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Men and women.
Yeah.
And communities.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that's a very good question, and that is what we've been working towards: interest-free loans, as well as partnering up with organizations to help people get more jobs.
There's an entire ecosystem built around this program.
Absolutely, it's very organic. When you get into the nitty-gritty, when you are introduced to people's problems, you ultimately, at a human level, you want to help solve them, right? So whatever needs to be done to help us get through these times. Like I said, there's one major takeaway from this pandemic. It's that we're in this together.
Absolutely.
We're in this Sab Saath.
Thank you for such insightful information, Omar. As always, we're very grateful to you for sharing your insights and your expertise, and also the learning that you've taken away from setting up this project all the way to its action and implementation and spreading it in the entire country. So from the bottom, I know we benefited from it as well, where people needed help. So from the bottom of our hearts and our viewers, we thank you very much for being here with us and sharing your insights on this platform and your projects. We'll hopefully have you over again to talk about the bigger picture as well. Thank you very much.
Glad to have been here, and thanks for having me, and I hope to see you again soon, inshallah.
Absolutely.
See you next time.
Take care.